In this video, we are going to be talking about equivalent expressions. So first things first, what is an equivalent expression? An equivalent expression are expressions that are the same or equal. So two or more expressions that are the same or equal. The other key terms that we need to know would be distributive property. This means to give away using multiplication. So for example, if we have 3 and x plus 5, we're going to give away that 3 to everything on the inside of the parentheses using multiplication. Factor means to take out using division. So for instance, if I had 10x minus 5, the biggest number I can take out or factor out of those numbers would be 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. I'm going to keep that variable. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So factoring out means to take out using division. And last but not least, like terms. Like terms are terms whose variables are the same. So for instance, if I have this big expression here, 4x squared plus 3xy minus 14y plus 7xy plus x squared. To make this smaller or to simplify, I need to see if there are any variables that are exactly the same. So for instance, 4x squared, is there any other term here that also has the x squared? So x squared is the same, so I would be able to combine those together. Other like terms I see, if I have 3xy, is there any other term with an xy? There's also the 7xy. And then I always like to include the plus or the minus when I am grouping those two, just so I know whether it's going to be a positive or a negative number. And then last but not least, the minus 14y, there is no other term that just has a y all by itself, so that cannot be combined with anything. There are no other like terms with just the y. So let's do an example of combining like terms. 19a minus 7 minus 3a plus 12a. So first things first, I have this positive 19a. I know I can combine that, or a like term would also be the minus 3a, and then also the positive 12a. So to group those together, I'm going to write out 19a minus 3a. This is why it's important to include the signs in your groupings, plus 12a. So now with PEMDAS, we go left to right. 19a minus 3a is going to be 16a. And then I'm going to include the plus 12a. We just have two whole numbers here that we are adding. 6 plus 2 is 8. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have 28a. And then last but not least, my last term was a minus 7 that was all by itself. So my expression is going to be, my equivalent expression is going to be 28a minus 7. That is my simplified expression when I combined my like terms. The other way we can find an equivalent expression is using distributive property. This means to give away. So I'm going to give away the negative 7 to everything inside my parentheses. So negative 7 times 3y, and I have negative 7 times negative 1. This minus 1 makes that a negative. So negative 7 times 3y, negative 7 times positive 3 is negative 21. I need to include that y. And then negative 7 times negative 1 is a positive 7. Since it is a positive, I'm going to put a plus sign here. So my final expression would be negative 21y plus 7. Example 3, use the distributive property to find an equivalent expression. So in this first one, I'm distributing the negative 8 to everything on the inside of the parentheses. Notice I'm not distributing the 8 to that minus 3 because that is not on the inside of the parentheses. So I'm just going to leave that alone for now and tack it on the very end. So first I have negative 8 times 3 would be negative 24p. Then you have negative 8 times positive 2. That's going to be negative 16c. And then you have negative 8 times positive 3, so negative 24. And I'm going to go ahead and tack on that negative 3 at the very end. Now I'm going to see if I have any like terms. So I have negative 24p. Doesn't look like I have any other variables with just p. My next one that I have is negative 16c. Looks like I don't have any other variables with just c. But last but not least, I do have two whole numbers, so I can combine those. When I am subtracting with a negative, I want to do keep, change, change. So negative 24 stays the same. I change subtraction to addition and change 3 to negative 3. So now same sign add, different sign subtract. I have the same sign, so I'm going to go ahead and add here. This is going to be a negative 27, and I'm going to drag everything else down since there were no other like terms that I could combine. And this is my final expression. Next one, I have to distribute my 3, and then I also have to distribute a 6. First, 3 times 5 is 15, include that n. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. Next, I have 6 times 4, which is 24. Since it's a positive, I'm going to include my plus sign. And then 6 times 6 is 36. I'm going to include my n. Now let's look at like terms to see if we can simplify this expression. I have 15n. Do I have another term just with an n? I do. It is positive 36. So I'm going to go ahead and write those out together so I can combine them. And then my last two are whole numbers. So I have negative 24 plus 24, 15n plus 36n is going to be 51n. And negative 24 plus 24, this is an additive inverse. It equals 0. So my final expression is just 51n. Last but not least, I'm going to be factoring out these numbers. I'm going to see what I can factor out. So what is my GCF of these numbers? So for my first expression, my greatest common factor is going to be 12. For my second expression, my GCF looks like it's going to be 3. And for my last one, GCF also looks like it's going to be 3. So the first one, if I'm factoring out 12, I have negative 12 divided by 12 is going to be negative 1, and I need to keep my variable. And then 24 divided by 12 is 2. You can also write this as 12 times negative x plus 2. The 1 you can leave out. These are interchangeable. 6x plus 15. If I am factoring out, my greatest common factor was 3, so 3 on the outside. 6x divided by 3 is 2x, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. And finally, my last expression, I said my greatest common factor was 3 again, so I'm going to take out my 3. I have 12a divided by 3 is going to be what? 4a. I have 15b divided by 3 is going to be 5b. And then negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. So my final expression would be this.